minutes.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to present here today at the AI Global Frontier Summit. Let me pull up my slideshow. My name is Elena Gurevich. I am a New York-based attorney, and I specialize in guiding businesses through rapidly evolving field of AI. I currently serve on the EU General Purpose AI Code of Practice working groups. I am the founder and co-host of AI in Real Life, Not Your Usual Take. It's a bi-weekly podcast featuring global experts on the real-world impact of AI technologies. So, a little introduction, a little forward before my presentation begins. Let's call it this. AI has become critical infrastructure and is being integrated into various areas of our lives at scale. LLMs are drafting code, vision models screen MRIs, and algorithms decide who gets a loan. That's why AI regulation and governance are a pressing issue for organizations and businesses alike. According to the recent report by IAPP, 56% of US voters support federal AI regulation, and over 80% don't trust tech companies to self-regulate, while 62% express concern about AI's risks. So for the next 20 minutes or so, I will try to do the impossible and walk you through the latest global AI regulation trends. My presentation today will consist of 3 parts. Part 1 is going to be about the current AI regulation landscape in the US. In part 2, I will talk about the EU. In part 3, we'll cover the latest AI regulation trends in China and the Global South. So let's get to it and start with the US. Currently, there is no federal AI law in the United States. With the new presidential administration, the narrative has shifted to AI deregulation and pro-innovation, framed around national security concerns and rivalry with China. The latest US international deals have been making news rounds as well. For instance, take the latest deal between the US and the United Arab Emirates. On May 15th, the US and the UAE signed a deal where the UAE is to build a 5 gigawatt AI campus, which would be the largest US-backed AI campus outside America. The campus will be built by Abu Dhabi state-backed firm G42. And according to the US state officials, American companies will operate the data centers and offer American-managed cloud services throughout the region. On April 28, Congress passed the Bipartisan Take It Down Act, which makes it a federal crime to post non-consensual sexual imagery, including explicit deepfakes. Online platforms now have to remove such content within 48 hours of notification. Within 2 days after the law was passed, the most prominent deepfake porn site, Mr. Deepfake, shut down. That site has been in operation since 2018. Speaking of bipartisan support, on May 14th, a bipartisan group of senators introduced AI Whistleblower Protection Act. The act would block AI companies from retaliating against employees who leak information about AI models' harms or non-compliance by AI companies. Since the beginning of this year, multiple executive orders and directives have been issued rescinding Biden-era AI safety mandates and streamlining AI's acquisition and adoption in government. For instance, Biden's AI diffusion rule. On May 12th, the diffusion rule was rescinded several days before it was to come into effect. The diffusion rule established a tiered system that limited countries' access to AI chips based on their assigned tier. That diffusion rule received a lot of negative feedback from countries around the world, and it was expected with the new administration that it would be rolled back. So nothing new there. But the same day, the Bureau of Industry and Security issued a warning that running Chinese models on US chips is basically illegal. For some time now, big AI developers, the likes of OpenAI and Google, have been calling for federal regulation to preempt a patchwork of state laws. And it looks like their dreams might just come true. Because on May 21st, 2025, the US House of Representatives passed a budget bill that, if enacted, would put a 10-year ban on any state regulation. The amendment received an immediate backlash from the states, arguing that the law will cripple existing deepfake and child safety laws. So let's look at what's happening at the state level. As I mentioned previously, as a result of Congress inaction, there's been a patchwork of state regulations. As of today, there are over 550 AI bills introduced in 45 states. More state AI bills have been introduced since the beginning of this year than the previous 2 years combined. These bills are usually narrow in scope and target specific issues like deepfakes, anti-discrimination, political speech, transparency requirements, and lately worker protection. Individuals typically cannot file lawsuits. Enforcement is up to state agencies. So let's start with California. Being the home to many tech and AI companies, it's considered a global leader in tech innovation. Nothing new there. California has been very active in AI regulation space. In September of last year, California governor signed 18 AI bills into law. But I'm interested in one bill in particular that wasn't signed that day. In fact, that bill was vetoed by the governor. I'm talking about the infamous Frontier AI Bill, SB 1047. What happened was the bill focused too much on catastrophic harm and started massive public debate between the industry, academics, and legislators. At one point, even Hollywood actors were involved. California governor vetoed SB 1047 with a warning that it could drive AI companies out of the state and hinder innovation. There's even a documentary about it that was just released recently. It's called The AI Bill That Broke the Silicon Valley. So if you want to, you can Google it later. It's on YouTube, I believe. California did enact some narrower AI laws back in 2024. For example, the AI Transparency Act. The act creates the nation's first digital watermarking standard. Under this bill, AI systems have to disclose that the content they create is AI generated and provides must offer a free AI detection tool to users. The bill is silent on techniques for transparency, so companies are not constricted by specific technical requirements in order to comply. There is also Generative AI Training Data Transparency Act. The act covers transparency requirements for generative AI providers. The law goes into effect in January of 2026. Under the law, developers will have to provide high-level summaries of datasets used to train their models. Developer also includes anyone who makes material and substantial changes to AI model. Think fine-tuning. Overall, California's leadership is significant in that it promotes flexible, innovation-friendly policies to keep AI firms in the state. Now let's switch to Colorado. 1 year ago, Colorado became the first US state to pass a comprehensive AI law called the Colorado AI Act. The law takes a risk-based approach to AI regulation and addresses consumer protections for AI. Under the Colorado AI Act, developers and deployers of high-risk and general-purpose AI systems are required to use reasonable care to avoid algorithmic discrimination. Compliance with the law creates a rebuttable presumption that a developer or deployer use reasonable care, as well as an affirmative defense if they implemented and maintained a program that is in compliance with nationally or internationally recognized risk management framework. Think ISO or NIST standards. And second, took measures to discover and correct violations. As always, something interesting happened, and earlier this month, an emergency amendment was introduced in order to scale back and delay the Colorado AI Act. The amendment failed, and the law will come into force as planned on February 1st of 2026. There are a number of states that are currently pushing for AI legislations. Some states are watering down proposed AI bills in order to pass them. I'm talking about the Texas Responsible AI Governance Act, or the latest one in Connecticut AI bill. The US tech companies retain enormous influence over key lawmakers. Many AI bills have died on the Senate floor because of intensive lobbying. And with that, let's switch to the European Union. The EU has started to soften its position on AI regulation, scaling back burdensome rules while looking to increase AI investment. Earlier this year, at the Paris AI Action Summit, it became known that the AI Liability Directive was quietly withdrawn. The officials cited the need to reduce overlapping obligations and focus on rolling out the EU AI Act first. For those who don't know, EU AI Act is Europe's landmark AI law, which takes a risk-based approach to regulating AI systems. There are currently plans to simplify the GDPR to reduce the burden on smaller businesses, as well as simplify compliance with the AI Act. In April, the European Commission introduced the AI Continent Action Plan, a blueprint for the EU to become the world's leading AI continent. So definitely worth to keep an eye on all those developments in the EU. And finally, let's talk about what's happening in China and the global south. Chinese government was one of the first in the world to pass AI laws. Currently, the country is in its pro-development and innovation era, and the AI regulation is on pause for now. The last heavy-duty AI law was passed in the country in August of 2023. Over the past few years, China has emerged as a formidable AI player. Just look at those facts. As of today, 4 out of the top 10 open-weight models belong to Chinese companies. China leads in humanoid robot development. According to the latest Morgan Stanley report, by 2050, China is projected to hold roughly 30% of the global installed base. We are talking 300 million units. China also dominates critical mineral supplies. And after Washington's reciprocal tariffs in April, China is now looking to leverage US pressure to forge tech blocks with the global south. The goal is to strengthen its position globally and forge alliances wielding its softer power. So what about the global south? In Brazil, there is Brazil AI bill. It's a risk-based AI legislation that's headed for lower house votes. The interesting fact about this bill is that US tech giants have lobbied heavily against it. In Kenya and Nigeria, there are efforts to use privacy and labor statutes to police AI in the absence of federal or any AI legislation, for that matter. Not too long ago, Saudi Arabia issued its Global AI Hub draft law, where the country stressed the need for sovereign compute and export control pledges. And after its recent deal with the US, where major tech players, including companies like Google, Oracle, Salesforce, committed $80 billion to invest in transformative technologies in both countries. It's clear that Saudi Arabia aims to become a powerful player in sovereign AI compute. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.